What's going on, guys? We are here at the Thermaltake Suite, CES 2023. It is my very first official CES meeting, and it turned into a pretty good one. They have a lot of new cases, they have new fans, new power supplies, new AIOs, new water cooling stuff, a lot of new going on in the Thermaltake Suite. Let's take a look.
BPS Custom's coverage of CES 2023 is powered by Thermaltake and their new Series 500 cases. Available in black or snow options, Thermaltake gives you the power of airflow and performance with 4 included ARGB fans and massive radiator support. There's also option for an LCD side panel upgrade that displays system info, weather, time, and more. Check out these stylish new Series 500 TG cases available January 4th, and thank you to Thermaltake for making this video possible.
All right, so the first thing we're going to start out with is Thermaltake's new CTE designation of cases. They have a whole new line of cases coming out called CTE something. So we've got the CTE 750, the CTE C700, and the CTE T500. And we're going to start over here with the largest of the cases. That's the CTE 750 Air and TG. Now you see that they are pretty much the same, except there are going to be a couple of differences between the two. The biggest difference is actually going to be on the front panel. The Air and the TG are going to come with 2 different front panels. As you guys can see here, there's a TG here, and then the Air is going to have a full mesh front. So it's more of an airflow versus aesthetics thing that we see a lot with a lot of different cases, but it is definitely good that they are prioritizing airflow if you want it. But there's also going to be an ARGB version and a non-ARGB version. They haven't finalized a whole lot of the details about these cases yet, because these are just basically pre-production samples. They apparently just arrived to the Thermaltake offices this week, so they haven't had a whole lot of time to discuss exactly how these are going to be presented to market, but we are expecting them sometime around Computex. Now, they actually aren't going to be quite as expensive as I had originally thought. They are targeting $229 and $249 for the Air/TG versions. They are very large cases in the interior, as you can see, but all the CTE cases are going to have rotated 90-degree motherboards, and the purpose of this, they said, is they want to try to promote airflow to the graphics card by including a full rear mesh panel. So you have the ability to mount 3 140mm fans back there, or a 420mm radiator if you so choose. And this should be able to provide air directly to or from the graphics card if you want it to. Additionally, there are ventilated panels at the top and at the front. And this case is just enormous. Look at the amount of space here between the motherboard and the bottom panel. You can do full custom loops in here, as they have on the ARGB version. Or you could just run it air-cooled, and either way should provide a lot of airflow. Now, the front panel is actually removable. It comes off with little pogo pins. You just pull it right off. And then you have this massive ventilation up here with these giant holes. So either way, I think you're going to be not starved for air, and the price point is pretty reasonable for what you're getting, especially because this is a dual chamber setup with the power supply around back. Taking a step down from the CTE C750 is this. These are the CTE C700, and they're about the same height. We've got the 750 on the right and the 700 on the left. So height-wise, they are about the same, but this is definitely shorter. What this is going to mostly impact is the ability to put 420mm radiators at the bottom. You can no longer do that, but you still do have quite a bit of space down here for fans and for ventilation, and you can still mount 420 rads on the front or on the back. Now, the same thing as with these cases over here, the 700 also has the fully ventilated rear panel. And this isn't really something that I've seen on very many cases at all. Because you have the power supply in the rear chamber back here, this allows them to fully ventilate and allow for radiator mounting or fan mounting on the back. So they are really trying to promote some high airflow situations here with massive fan support all around. So once again, you are going to have multiple versions of these cases. You're going to have an airflow version and a tempered glass version. You're going to have an ARGB version and a non-ARGB version. And the prices are going to range from $179 to $229. Again, we're talking same time frame as the CTE C750, so sometime around Computex you should see finalized cases, and then they should come to market pretty soon after that. But the design language is pretty consistent between the 750 and the 700. As you guys can see, they do look fairly similar, again, except these are a little bit squished, a little bit smaller of a footprint on your desk, which is something that I am definitely a fan of. And here is the baby of the CTE case lineup. This is the CTE T500. Again, you're going to get an Air and an TG version, so you're going to also have ARGB or non-ARGB. It's a lot of SKUs that Thermaltake is going to be coming out with for these cases, and again, they are all part of the same family. The idea here is that all of these are going to have this 90-degree rotated motherboard, and they're just getting kind of progressively smaller as the numbers go from 750 to 700 to 500. But again, you still have the same kind of design language, still that same entire rear panel of ventilation. And these are just more along the lines of a standard ATX case. Now, if we compare it to the Cirrus, you can see that the Cirrus is actually significantly smaller. And honestly, I think I prefer this form factor to this one. However, there are definitely some people that are going to want to have a lot more room inside the case, along with the different kind of layout and appearance you get from a rotated motherboard. Again, you have support for 420mm radiators up front and in the rear, which with the proliferation of high-end graphics cards that require a lot of power, I'm sure you're going to see a lot of them come out with AIOs attached to them from here on out. This actually is a really good solution to that. You don't have to have crisscrossing tubes if you have an AIO in your GPU going to the back, and you have an AIO on the CPU going to the front. Well, then you don't have to worry about tubes going everywhere, and it looks a lot neater. And then we have these two guys, Snow and regular version of the Cirrus 500 TG ARGB. These cases are actually on the market right now, and they are a really good form factor. They're fairly compact. They're not like a huge case, so they fit on a lot of different desks. And again, Thermaltake has gone with the airflow approach, giant holes at the top, a lot of ventilation at the front and on the power supply shroud. These are going to be $169, and you also do have the option of adding on the LCD side panel kit. Now, they don't have one working here on the Cirrus, but they do have one working on this other case, which we're going to talk about in a second. This is the Tower 200. But if you can see this little LCD system info panel, what they are doing is they're actually going to have an add-on for the Cirrus, which replaces this panel right here with an LCD screen. So that is going to be an add-on. It's going to be a separate expense. However, it is going to be really nice to have that integrated into a case as opposed to having to be added on later. A lot of people want that kind of aesthetic for a case like this, but they don't want to go through the whole process of installing it themselves, buying a panel, figuring out how to run it and all that. And this really has a really good look, and it looks like really good airflow from what I could see here. Again, the entire front panel has giant mesh holes. I don't know why they blocked off some of them. I suppose it is for aesthetics or something. Maybe I'll mention that to them a little bit later, but still, should be a good amount of airflow in here, and it is a really nice form factor. It's not overly large, and it still does fit a good amount of hardware. You can see inside they have an RTX, I think it's a 4090. It's a giant card with the built-in GPU support bracket, and there's still plenty of room up front, so plenty of clearance if you want to put a radiator up there or any water cooling equipment, SSD mounts along the rear, and that is a standard ATX motherboard in there. So plenty of room inside, and it's not overly large, unlike a couple of the other cases that they are featuring here today. Thermaltake is also expanding their AIO lineup. They already have the Tough Liquid Ultra in standard 120mm fan sizes, so I think they have a 240 and a 360. They're now coming out with a 280 and a 420. And obviously with CPUs that need more cooling, 420 is definitely something that people are going to be looking into in the future. These are an Asetek-based design, so they're not, you know, super different from a lot that's on the market, but you do get a 2.1-inch LCD screen with customizable GIFs and graphics and whatnot, and you get 3 of their ARGB Tough fans. This is one of the coolest little things that I think that they're showing here. This is their Pacific TF3 liquid cooling system dashboard. It is going to be $119, so that's a thing, but it has 3 analog gauges on here that tell you liquid pressure, liquid temperature, and ambient chassis temperature. And the way it hooks up is through this series of cables that actually directly plumb up to a little fitting that will come with the unit. So you basically put this in line and it feeds all the information back to this dashboard, which then mounts in any 120mm fan mounting hole. So for instance, on this case, they got one sitting in the back there. And the gauges are analog, which I really dig as a car guy. And I told them that I think this would be really cool if they could come out with this that tells different information. So they have one for liquid temperature and pressure, and they have one for GPU information and one for CPU information. And for instance, maybe you could populate the entire back wall of a case like this with 3 different sets of analog gauges so that you have a really cool analog looking system. And they said that that was a great idea, and that means that they'll never make it. So that is unfortunate, but I think we have other options for that kind of information if we want it. But at least we do have this really cool little thing. I like this a lot, even though $119 as a basically just aesthetic add-on is, you know, maybe not for everybody, but it's definitely pretty cool. Lian Li's Unifans are now not the only fans that can be connected to each other for a really streamlined build experience. These are the SWAFAN EX. And as you can see, they have little connections here and are magnetically attached to one another, just like this. And then you have a single cable solution that comes off here and uses their proprietary connector, but you have one box that's going to control all of your fans, and you could daisy chain up to 3 of these in a row. And again, the magnetic connection is actually really slick. And then we're going to wrap up with some power supplies. We got a whole new lineup of power supplies. These are actually on the market already. These are Tough Power GFs and they're Tough Power PFs, so that's gold and platinum. Basically, these are pretty much the same. You have different power ratings from 750 all the way up to 1250 watts. The PFs go up to 1200 watts, but these are both fully modular, 80 plus gold, 80 plus platinum, and they also have ATX 3.0 support. So you have direct plugins for the 12VH power. Now you have these. These are their Tough Power SFX, and these are pretty cool. These are SFX units, as the name implies, but also ATX 3.0 compatible with 12 VH power connections directly on board. Haven't really seen very many of these, actually, and that is a pretty cool innovation. Although I'm not entirely sure how many of the mini ITX system builders out there are targeting the use of a 4090 in their tiny, tiny builds. However, there is definitely going to be a need for ATX 3.0 power supplies in small form factors for the future. And Thermaltake's got a lineup of them, 750 watts to 1000 watts, 80 plus platinum, and fully modular. All right, so that's it for the Thermaltake Suite CES 2023. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. Once again, thank you to Thermaltake for sponsoring our CES 2023 coverage. Check them out at the link in the video description, and stay tuned to the channel for more CES coming your way very soon.